Right then, Canon 5DS and 5DSR, both 50.6 megapixel full frame DSLRs, came out in 2016. So what does the R? Why does the R differ from the S? Much like the E differs from it not being there for the D800 and the D800E, the 5DSR has the cancelling filter in it like the D800E has the cancelling filter in it as well, which gives you just a tiny bit of extra sharpness. Now the pictures you're seeing are all original edits taken from the first edits I made for these particular photos, so there's no I haven't reached them in my retrospective project. Now about this camera, it's the same body as a 5D Mark III. The only difference is I think there's some kind of extra padding in the mirror lock when the mirror goes up, a new shutter and an extra reinforcement of the base plate. So what is this camera for? Well, 5DS and 5DSR are, I would say, specialty cameras in that they're made for a very specific area of photography. Now that would be very much studio based, so like high-end product photography and studio portraits, fashion, high-end commercial kind of stuff, which is why not many of these cameras, especially the 5DSR, that one seems to be more of a rarity than the 5DS in the second-hand market anyway. But that's why there aren't so many of these cameras around when you go onto the used site. So if you're interested in buying one, you can find them on eBay, but I would caution you doing that if they don't have enough good close-up photos of the condition of the camera, or also the shutter actuations, because it's got the same shutter actuations as a 5D Mark III, which I think is 150,000. It's funny actually, because I see this a lot, especially in the used market. You'll find a camera like this on the used market and it'll look like as good as new, and the shutter count can be quite low because somebody's bought it, and when it's too much camera for them. And this camera is one of those cameras where it can be too much camera for someone. I wouldn't buy it for travel photography or for just ordinary everyday photography, mainly because especially if you shoot RAW, the RAW files are huge. They're 80-90 megabytes each, so you need quite a big, it's dual card slots as well, compact flash and SD card slots, so you'll need big cards for this, for the RAW files. Now I'll give you a bit of my experience. I mean, all these photos, like I said, all these photos are ones I've taken myself. What I've found with it's more noticeable actually in the three studio pictures possibly, which were all taken on a 5DS, that the dynamic range isn't very good on this particular camera. Even when you shoot it at ISO 100, the dynamic range is quite disappointing. Even when you don't clip the shadows, especially the shadows actually, yeah, I've found trying to pull detail out of the shadows is a full-on task, mainly because the shadow, when you do try and pull details out of the shadows, it's very muddy and very bland, flat, and not really worth doing. So this kind of camera, the 5DS or the 5DSR, if you're going to use it for landscape photography, which is one of the other uses you can use it for, or architectural photography, you've either got to nail your exposure so you don't want to make any adjustments to the highlights or especially the shadows, or you overexpose to get the shadows to the right exposure you want, and use a filter to bring down the highlights. So you'll be shooting on a tripod, handheld, not the best idea in the world. That being said though, The majority of in fact I think almost all the photos that you'll see in this were all taken handheld, so I'm actually talking against what I actually did. But this is because I don't like to lug around a tripod. I'm very much an anti-tripod person. I don't see the point in taking a tripod with me. I'll take a monopod, a nice light carbon fibre monopod, to help me steady my shots, but a full-on tripod, unless I'm in a studio shooting products, it's not worth it, to be quite honest, in my opinion, from my photographic practice anyway. So yes, it is a very nice camera to use. I will say that for both of them. I've owned both of them. I've used both of them. They are just as easy to use as a 5D Mark III and a lot of other Canon cameras. They're intuitive, I would say. The ease of use of going through the menus. I've always found Canon cameras to be very intuitive, very easy to use, very easy to get on with, and this is no exception. Lens wise, like I said, it's an old camera, so it's EF lenses. You can get some pretty good lenses on the second-hand market that will work on this camera, no problem. There's just loads of them out there. And as for prices of these cameras, to get a good one, a 5DS you're looking at around £900. 5DSR you're looking for about another £300-400 on top of that to get a good one with plenty of life left in the shutter, because that's what you want with these cameras. You want good life in the shutter, but also if there's only sort of like wearing on the base plate, then you'll know that it's been and there's no wear anywhere else, like on the buttons or on the top. Those are the things to look out for. If it's only just wear on the base plate, especially around the where the tripod goes in, the tripod head, then you're looking at probably majority of which has been used in a studio or on a tripod shooting landscapes. I mean, best thing you do if you're buying on eBay is to send a message to the seller to ask them if they've got any idea of the camera usage, especially if it's a person, not a business. They probably will have a good idea. But yes, so yeah, if you want this camera, I don't have a problem with you wanting it, but you just have to remember its limitations. I mean, ISO wise, I would not go above ISO 800 on this. It only goes up to, I think is it 6,400, or is it higher than that? 6,400. Let's have a quick peek. I mean, it says 12,800, but that's when it's extended. You can use the extension, but I wouldn't go above 800. You'll get far too much noise from that high megapixel count. And you have to remember, when this was made, it was the megapixel count wars, as it were, whereas now it's all autofocus and video and AI autofocus and open gate video, and I've lost count now of how many different terms they got for it. But yes, so to sum up, it is a very nice, easy camera to use, but again, remember the limitations. If you're wanting an all-round camera that you can take out and take a lot of handheld shots, maybe using more sort of like low light situations, this is definitely not the camera for you. You'd be better off, if you're going to stick with Canon, with either a 5D Mark IV, which you can buy used for around the same price, and that can actually shoot 4K video, or you start looking at the mirrorless market with lower megapixels, again even further lower megapixels, like an R6 Mark I, or if you want a bit more resolution, something like an EOS R, their first version, but that only has one SD card slot and no image stabilization. So yes, that's my take on this camera. Until the next one.